Iran, America, and Israel, what's the real reason behind their fight? There are 57 Islamic countries in the world, so why is it that America and Israel have focused only on Iran? To truly understand the conflict between Iran and the US, we need to go back all the way to World War II. We shall never surrender. During World War II, every country basically had two choices. Either support the British Empire or stand with Hitler. Most countries backed the British Empire. But at that time, the Shah of Iran sided with the British Empire. They teamed up with Hitler, and after that, Iran and Germany became really close friends. The British Empire didn't like this at all. So, Britain started attacking Iran from all sides and quickly began conquering the entire country. Seeing this, the Shah of Iran surrendered to the British Empire within a few days and begged them to save his throne. The British agreed, but on one condition: he had to step down, and his 22-year-old son would become the new Shah of Iran. This happened because his son, Reza Shah Pahlavi, was a loyal puppet of the British Empire. The new king of Iran was heavily inspired by the English. He wanted the people of Iran to dress just like Westerners, throw parties like them, and forget all their traditions. That's why from day one, he tried to distance Islam from the Iranian people. Because of this, he banned wearing the hijab in Iran, shut down many madrasas and mosques, and arrested the country's leading Islamic scholar. He started doing this, and music, parties, and alcohol began spreading all over Iran. There was even a time when Iran was producing so much alcohol that this Islamic country started exporting it worldwide. The king of Iran thought whatever he was doing was absolutely great. I mean, to be honest, he saw himself as the king of kings. One day, he even told King Faisal of Saudi Arabia, "Why are you stuck in the old ways? You should turn Saudi into a liberal country, just like the West." But the Saudi king Faisal refused to do that. But the funny thing is, today the same Saudi Arabia tells Iran to be a bit more liberal. But now Iran doesn't listen to them. After all, the Shah of Iran tried so hard to push Iran away from Islam that all the major Islamic scholars in Iran started opposing him. After that, these scholars began giving speeches against the Shah in mosques and madrasas. The biggest scholar among them was Ayatollah Khomeini. Khomeini and his followers started urging the people of Iran to rebel against the Shah. Oh, they were waiting for it. Eventually, Khomeini's influence in Iran grew so much that the Shah of Iran arrested him and expelled him from the country for good. After that, Imam Khomeini left Iran and settled in Iraq, where a young leader was closely watching his every move. Gradually, even Saddam Hussein began to fear Khomeini's rising power. One day, Saddam even told the Shah of Iran that if he wanted, he could eliminate Khomeini by killing him. Something that was quite typical for Saddam, and we've already explained that fully. But Iran, the Shah said no, there was no need to kill him. That old Khomeini can't harm me in any way. Imam Khomeini started recording his speeches on cassettes while sitting in Iraq. These tapes were then secretly smuggled all across Iran. People got so inspired by Khomeini's words that little by little they began to see him as their leader more than the Shah of Iran. But removing the Shah wasn't going to be easy, since he had a very powerful army and full support from the super. Back then, America was like a boss, and in the Muslim world, it was America's favorite puppet. But at that time, when the Shah of Iran was at the peak of his power, he made the biggest mistake of his life. The flames of Persia, the world's biggest and most expensive party. Suddenly, one day, the Shah of Iran announced that to revive the great Persian Empire, there would be the biggest party ever held in Iran. This was a party where all the world leaders and top celebrities were invited. The Shah wanted to bring that Persian Empire back to life. He wanted it. A long time ago, during the caliphate of Hazrat Umar bin Khattab, Muslims destroyed the ancient city of Iran. For this party, a new city was built in the middle of Iran's desert. And the Shah of Iran ordered 600 limousines for his VIP guests. They served food on gold plates. After that, the Shah stood everyone up in front of him, sat on his golden throne, and declared himself the new emperor of the empire. But while the Shah was living his lavish lifestyle, the poor people of Iran started to think, we are starving here, struggling to find food and drink, while our king eats off a golden plate. That's why, after this party, the people of Iran quickly started leaning towards Imam Khomeini's ideas. Khomeini even declared in his tapes that Iran's king is the Yazid of our times. Gradually, Khomeini became so powerful in Iran that the king realized only one power could save him now, the superpower America. So just like his father before him, he went to beg the presidents of France and other countries, held a very important meeting together. At the end of this meeting, they clearly told the Shah of Iran that now no one could protect him from Khomeini. As soon as he heard this, the Shah left his country and fled for good. When Khomeini found out that the Shah had run away from Iran out of fear of him, after spending 14 years in exile, Imam Khomeini finally set off towards Iran. Never before in history had so many people gathered for any leader as they did for Imam Khomeini. People gathered to welcome Khomeini. About 7 million people welcomed Imam Khomeini in Iran, which was a world record. As soon as Khomeini arrived in Iran, for the first time, slogans like "Death to America" and "Death to Israel" started echoing across the country. Khomeini's followers arrested everyone in the American embassy. Khomeini even mentioned the American president by name, saying he wouldn't release those 50 people until America handed over the Shah of Iran to them. That's when the hostility between America and Iran began. But the Shah of Iran never returned. He didn't come, and after he died, his son declared himself the new Shah of Iran. Now, in Iran, Khomeini set up his new Islamic government. But as soon as Khomeini became Iran's leader, at the same time, a new leader also came to power right next door in Iraq, Saddam Hussein. The thing was, the rest of the world's leaders were really scared of Khomeini's power, because in his speeches he kept urging Muslims everywhere to rise up against their ruler. Seeing this, Iraq's leader, Saddam Hussein, following the advice of America and Arab leaders, moved against Khomeini. Saddam attacked, leading to a brutal war between Iran and Iraq that lasted 8 years. Even though Saddam had the support of the whole world, he couldn't remove Khomeini from power. And right after the war ended, Khomeini passed away. His funeral was the biggest in history, with around 10 million people attending, making it the largest gathering for any leader ever recorded in the Guinness World Records. After that, Iran's ministers came together and, after Khamenei, they chose their new leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, a student of Ayatollah Khamenei, who is still Iran's supreme leader today. After the war with Iran ended, Iran's leaders realized that the US and Israel would never stop targeting them unless Iran had its own atomic bomb. But the problem was, making an atomic bomb isn't easy. It's a really complicated technology, and back then no one was willing to hand over that tech to Iran. So Iran was basically waiting for some kind of miracle, some country in the world to help them get their atom, helped in making a bomb. And the strange thing is, that's exactly what happened. A country right next to Iran, the world's first Islamic country, Pakistan, made its first atomic bomb. Pakistan today successfully conducted 5 nuclear tests. After developing the atomic bomb, Abdul Qadir Khan very secretly started sending centrifuge technology to Iran to help them make their own bomb. The centrifuge machine is the most important thing for making an atomic bomb. It basically spins just like a washing machine, but instead of clothes, uranium is put in. If uranium is kept in this machine for a short time, up to 5%, it generates electricity. But if uranium is spun in this machine for a longer time, up to 90%, it creates an atomic bomb. Iran started using Pakistan's technology to quickly build nuclear plants. But as soon as Iran began all this, somehow the US found out about it. The US was somewhat okay with Pakistan having an atomic bomb because Pakistan is a very loyal ally to America. You have to look after your own people. No matter what happens, Pakistan never goes against America because they've been long-time friends. BNB, my friend, but Iran has always been the opposite. Time and again, it stared down America and threatened them. So as soon as America found out about Iran's project, the American president came out in front of the whole world and said in his speech that there are some countries trying to make chemical and atomic bombs for themselves. One being Saddam Hussein's Iraq and the other Iran under Khomeini. Everyone in the world knows by now that this was a huge lie. Shortly after George Bush's speech, America attacked Saddam Hussein, killed thousands in Iraq and toppled his regime. After breaking Saddam's rule so easily, the US realized it could accuse any country falsely and justify an attack. That's why after Afghanistan and Iraq, Iran became America's next target. And once again, the US kept repeating the lie that Iran had nuclear bombs. After that, the whole world was watching Iran's leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. It was the perfect time to attack Iran. Because on one side, the US had a huge military presence in Afghanistan, and on the other, Iraq was also filled with American troops. Basically, the US had Iran surrounded from all sides. So all eyes were on Khamenei to see how he would protect Iran from the superpower America. And then Khamenei said something that completely blew away all the excuses the US had for attacking Iran. Khamenei, who is the top scholar in the Islamic world, issued a fatwa saying that making atomic bombs is completely forbidden in Islam for Muslims. Islam teaches us that even in war, you can't harm children, old people, or women. You're not even allowed to cut down trees in battle. But an atomic bomb destroys everything indiscriminately. That's why Khamenei declared atomic bombs absolutely forbidden for Muslims. He also announced that Iran has no intention of making an atomic bomb and that Iran's doors are open to everyone. It was announced that no agency in the world should just come to Iran and see for themselves that Iran has no intention of making an atomic bomb. But when the UN team went to Iran, they found that all the nuclear plants there were built exactly like the ones in Pakistan. And the whole world realized that Iran had bought this technology from Pakistan. And pressure on Pakistan increased so much that Abdul Qadir Khan himself came on TV, admitted it, and then apologized to everyone. That's the truth. And to please the world, Pakistan Khan was arrested and locked up in his own house. After Khamenei's fatwa, America had no excuse left to attack Iran. But there was one country in the world that kept pushing America to strike Iran. Still, America didn't listen to Israel. Slowly, things started to change. A very important Iranian guy sitting in France wrote something really strange, that Ayatollah Khamenei's fatwa declaring the atomic bomb forbidden is fake, and it's just hiding behind the Islamic concept of taqiyya, deception. Is hiding. In Islam, taqiyya means that a person can lie to save their own life. So this guy said that Khamenei issued this fake fatwa to save the people of Iran. And this guy, Mahmoud Murad Khan, is no ordinary person. He's Khamenei's sister's son, his own nephew. Khamenei's sister and her son are among his biggest enemies in Iran. Around this time, the US also started getting more suspicious of Iran. Then, in 2009, the US imposed really tough sanctions on Iran. Significant regime of sanctions. Look at this graph. The US's, before the sanctions, Iran's economy was booming fast. But as soon as the US imposed the sanctions, Iran's entire economy just came to a halt. After these US sanctions, a country like Iran, which is loaded with oil and gas, started going bankrupt. Without America's permission, Iran can't sell its gas to anyone in the world. Even after striking a deal with its close neighbor Pakistan, Pakistan refuses to buy gas from Iran. Instead of Iran's cheap gas, Pakistan imports LNG all the way from Qatar. It's like someone being too scared of a powerful landlord to even take care of their own home. People usually avoid buying expensive stuff from nearby shops and instead go far away to buy pricey items. There are only 3 major countries in the world that still do business with Iran today: China, Russia, and India. Because of the sanctions imposed by the US, Iran's situation got so bad that the Iranian government became willing to negotiate with America. Eventually, under President Barack Obama, Iran agreed to a nuclear deal where Iran promised not to make nuclear bombs, and in return, the US lifted all sanctions, allowing Iran's economy to get strong again. It was a huge win for both countries, but right from day one, there was one guy in America who was strongly against this deal. Donald Trump was totally against it because in America, there's a massive Jewish network. And without their support, no one can really get anything done. That's why shortly after winning his first election, Donald Trump scrapped the deal with Iran and slapped tough sanctions on Iran again to weaken its economy fast. Things were starting to fall apart. But of course, Iran is Iran. It wasn't going to stay quiet and scared like the rest of the Muslim world. As soon as Trump imposed sanctions on Iran, they kicked their nuclear program back into gear. On the other hand, everyone knows Donald Trump doesn't tolerate anyone messing around with him. When Iran stared down America, Trump suddenly took action. One day, out of nowhere, he launched a missile strike that took out Iran's army chief, Qasem Soleimani. This was a huge deal for Iran and its people. It was humiliating that someone could so easily kill their army chief right in front of the whole world, which slowly but surely started ramping up anger against the US in Iran. And just after Soleimani's death, when new elections were held in Iran, a new president came into power, Ibrahim Raisi. Bismillah ar-Rahman. Rahim Raisi was a no-nonsense, tough president who was never going to back down to the US or Israel under any circumstance. As soon as Ibrahim Raisi became president, Iran's nuclear program started ramping up again. And right from the start, everyone realized this. He made it clear that Iran won't be making any deals with the US anymore. At the same time, they started sending funding and weapons to all the groups fighting against Israel. And during that time, Israel and Gaza. But we all know what usually happens to any leader who openly speaks out against the US and Israel. President Raisi died when his helicopter crashed. After Raisi's death, exactly 1 year ago, Iran held elections again, where the people chose a leader completely opposite to Ibrahim Raisi, who is he's a soft-spoken and practical guy. As soon as he became president, the first thing he announced was that they still firmly stand by Ayatollah Khamenei's fatwa, and Iran will never make a nuclear bomb. No, we're not developing any. He also said that Iran is ready to deal not just with the US, but with the whole world. Because of that, very secretly, just recently, meetings began between the US and Iran to strike, but Israel never wants the US and Iran to make a deal. So Israel started trying everything it could. And then they started making false accusations against Iran again. Iran has never given up its quest for nuclear weapons. They say Iran is going to build an atomic bomb within a month, that it could happen in a few months. But this has been going on for the last 25 years. Iran has never given up on making nuclear weapons. It's just a few months here and there, a few tricks, producing nuclear weapons in a matter of months. What kind of atomic bomb is this that's supposed to be made in a month after 25 years, but still hasn't been made? Israel also accused Iran of repeatedly wanting to kill US President Donald Trump. That's why Israel is attacking Iran today, targeting every important person there one by one. The top advisor is the supreme leader's right-hand man, who wants to make a deal with the US. Through these attacks, Israel is trying to provoke Iran into making a wrong move out of anger, hoping the superpower America will then strike Iran and bring down the Ayatollah Khomeini's regime that was established many years ago. Have you ever wondered why, no matter how many peace talks are signed, how many treaties are written, or how many summits are held behind the closed doors of world powers, the fires of conflict between Iran, America, and Israel keep burning, smoldering under the surface of global politics like a hidden volcano ready to erupt? Why is this triangular tension unlike any other worldly dispute? What unseen hand keeps stirring these nations toward an inevitable clash? Is this merely a political struggle over oil, nuclear weapons, and military power? Or is it part of something far greater, a divine script unfolding before our very eyes, written long ago in the sacred texts of the Quran and Hadith? My respected viewers, the hourglass of human time is running low. The world is not as it seems. Behind the media headlines, behind the slogans of freedom and democracy, behind the cries of revolution and resistance, lies a hidden spiritual battlefield. A war not merely of nations, but of truth against falsehood, of light against darkness, of the destiny of mankind itself. And unless we awaken to these truths, unless we look beyond the curtain of material news and into the realm of Gaib, the unseen, we will remain blind to what is coming. So stay with me till the end, because what you will hear today is not political analysis. It is a mirror reflecting the warnings of the last prophet, the signs of the approaching hour, and the path Allah has shown to those who still seek the straight path. The Prophet Muhammad, whose words are preserved as the lanterns of truth for the ages to come, foretold that as the final hour draws near, the world would be marked by great wars and unrelenting tribulations in the lands of Ash, Sham, Iraq, and their surroundings. These places, which once hosted the mighty civilizations of prophets and kings, will again become the center stage where the unseen decrees of Allah unfold. This is not poetry. This is not a romantic imagining of ancient lands. This is the living, breathing truth of prophecy in motion, witnessed by the heart that still reflects and the eye that has not been darkened by heedlessness. When the messenger of Allah spoke of the great conflicts that would shake the lands of Syria and Iraq before the emergence of the Dajjal, did we think those words would sleep forever, untouched by history? No, they stir even now like the first gusts of wind that signal a mighty storm on the horizon. Look at these lands today. Iraq, the cradle of civilization, where the great rivers Tigris and Euphrates once watered gardens and orchards praised in early Islamic times, lies shattered under the boots of foreign soldiers and torn by the bombs of worldly greed. Syria, the blessed land of Ash, Sham, honored by the presence of prophets and angels, reduced to rubble and ash by the greed of kings and the schemes of shadowy powers. The Prophet told us clearly, Iraq will withhold its dirham and its quafes, Syria will withhold its mud and its dinar, and Egypt will withhold its irdab and its dinar, and you will return to where you started. This prediction, recorded centuries ago, now reads like a report of today's headlines. Iran, America, Israel, all their movements touch these lands as if pulled by the strings of an unseen hand. Iran stretches into Syria and Iraq, claiming to defend sacred shrines and influence politics, but in reality, fulfilling the words of the messenger who said the people of Persia would reach the Arab lands in the end times. America, the faraway empire, crossed oceans and deserts to invade Iraq and to stake its silent claim in Syria, as if some mysterious force draws it to the heart of this ancient conflict. Israel, ever watchful, expands its reach, dreaming of a greater Israel that stretches from the Nile to the Euphrates, exactly as the ancient prophecies warned. Can a believing heart see all this and dismiss it as mere chance? Is this not the unfolding of the divine warnings recorded by our prophet in the purest of speech? There is a parable hidden in the Quran that speaks to this moment, a story so old yet so fresh in meaning today. When the companions of the cave Ashab al-Kahf fled from the persecution of their people, they entered a cave and slept for centuries, unknown to the world. When they awoke, they found that everything had changed, and yet their faith remained the same. So too do the believers of today awaken from a long sleep of heedlessness and find the world transformed by the prophecies of the past. The wars in Iraq and Syria are not new events. They are the waking of an ancient warning. The Dajjal's footsteps approach. The Mahdi's shadow is near. The world stirs with the signs of the hour. A real-life example of this prophetic unfolding is clear in the ruin of Iraq. Once a center of knowledge, the home of scholars, libraries, and civilization, it was reduced to devastation by invasion and war. The Quran speaks of the cities that were destroyed because of injustice. And how many a city have we destroyed while it was committing wrong? So it is, I have now fallen into ruin, and how many an abandoned well, and how many a lofty palace. Al-Hajj 22:4-5, Iraq's fate echoes these words. But more than this, it fulfilled the hadith, the withholding of wealth, the breaking of power, the collapse of its influence, all predicted by the tongue of the final prophet. Is it not strange that America's hand reached this land first, in a war whose consequences still ripple through the earth? A lesser-known narration from Abu Huraira warns, there will be a trial that will not leave any house of the Arabs except that it will enter it. And indeed, this tribulation has touched every household, every refugee, every soul that fled the fires of Iraq and Syria. Millions displaced, children born in camps, families torn apart, not only by the wars of men, but by the decree of the unseen trials that the prophet had warned would come. But the story is not finished. The prophet spoke also of alliances with the Romans, the Western powers, before the great Malhama, the final Armageddon of human history. Some scholars saw in this a strange partnership between Muslims and the West against a common enemy, only to end in betrayal and great war. Have not our eyes seen the strange deals, the shifting loyalties, the betrayals that mark the politics of the Middle East today? America allies with one, betrays another, fights alongside one group only to crush them the next year. All this confusion, this chaos is the smokescreen of the coming great war. For before the Dajjal rises, the world must be thrown into fire and fear, so that mankind will be desperate for a savior, even if that savior is a false one. In the life of the great companion Hudafa ibn al-Yaman, the keeper of the secrets of the Prophet, there is a lesson for us. He was told of the fitan, the trials, that would fall upon the Ummah so that he might prepare his heart. When asked what to do in such a time, he replied, "Stay with the Jama'ah, the united body of Muslims and their leader. But what if there is no united body? What if the Muslims are scattered, betrayed, deceived?" Then said Hudayfa, "Keep away from all these sects, even if you must bite the root of a tree until death comes to you while you are upon that." This is the time we approach, a time when the believer may find no sanctuary but his own faith and his Lord. And what of Iran, America, Israel? Each fulfills its destiny. Iran reaches into Iraq and Syria, fulfilling the prophecy of Persia's final role. America crosses the world to wage war driven not by oil alone, but by a divine decree to disturb these lands before the hour. Israel watches, waiting for the chaos to end, for the temple to rise, for the Dajjal to walk among men. These movements are not politics, they are prophecy breathing. A simple, quiet wisdom from Imam al-Hasan al-Basri brings fear to the heart. The dunya is a deceiver, it has taken the hearts of kings and scholars alike. But the intelligent one is he who prepares for what comes after. In these years of unfolding fitna, are we preparing for what comes after? Or are we caught in the games of the dunya while the signs of the hour blaze around us like warning fires? The wars in Ash, Shem and Iraq, the meddling of Iran, America and Israel, the betrayal of treaties, the fall of cities, these are the cracks in the dam. When the dam breaks, the flood will come. And what is that flood? The Malhama, the great war foretold by the Prophet F. A war so fierce that birds flying over its battlefield will fall dead. A war that will end with the rise of the Mahdi and the descent of Isa ibn Maryam, peace be upon him. A war whose seeds are being sown even now in the ruins of Aleppo, in the deserts of Iraq, in the secret councils of power. But the believer must not fear. The Prophet, I said, a group of my Ummah will continue to uphold the truth, victorious, unharmed by those who oppose them, until the command of Allah comes. These wars, these trials, are not the end. They are the beginning of the victory of truth. But that victory is only for those whose hearts remain firm, whose prayers are sincere, whose eyes remain open to the unseen. O soul that hears these words, prepare. The lands of prophecy are stirring. The warnings of the messenger A are being written in blood and fire upon the earth. The Malma draws near, and the dawn of the Mahdi waits beyond the night. There is a trial unfolding upon this Ummah, more subtle than swords, more dangerous than visible enemies, more lasting than the victories or defeats of nations. It is the trial of the soul's awakening. For while the earth trembles beneath the clash of Iran, America and Israel, while bombs fall and treaties break, while kings and presidents make their secret deals, the true battlefield remains hidden deep within the heart of every Muslim man, woman, and child. It is the trial of heedlessness, the trial of distraction, the trial of forgetfulness in the face of destiny. The Prophet Muhammad said, "The Dajjal will not appear until the people forget about him and the Imams cease mentioning him from the pulpits." And indeed, we are living in that time. The warnings of the messenger of Allah echo across the centuries like the call of a lonely shepherd in the dark. But the sheep are scattered, their ears dulled by the noise of the dunya. The signs of the hour unfold. Great wars in Ash, Sham and Iraq, the rise of a system of control and deception, the preparation of Al-Quds for the false messiah. But the Ummah remains largely asleep, divided by sect, by nationalism, by race, by wealth, arguing over the dust while the sky burns with signs. This trial, this fitna, is greater than any external enemy. For the Dajjal can only deceive the one whose heart is already veiled. The Mahdi can only lead those who are ready to follow. The armies of truth can only rise from among those who have purified their souls from pride, greed, and fear. Thus, the real war is not in the news headlines, it is in the mirror of the believer's heart. There is a story told in the old books of a man who stood at the edge of the desert at dawn, gazing upon two distant armies preparing for battle. As he watched the flags and swords of the warriors, He was struck by the sudden realization that a greater war raged within himself, a war between his desire and his conscience, between his fear and his faith, between his love of life and his certainty of death. He turned away from the battlefield and entered the masjid, seeking the only victory that matters, the victory of the soul over the self. Such is the wisdom hidden beneath the surface of these great world events. Iran may defy Israel. America may threaten Iran. Israel may plot its expansion. But the believer must ask, what of my own heart? Am I prepared for the storm to come? Or am I too building palaces upon sand? A real life reflection of this inner trial is found in the daily lives of Muslims across the world. In countries rich and poor, the masajid are emptied while the shopping malls are full. The Quran gathers dust while the phones of entertainment shine brightly. The remembrance of the Dajjal, the Mahdi, the return of ISIS, AS. These are but distant myths to many, while the pursuit of career, fame, and fleeting pleasure consumes the soul. In the lands of wealth, Muslims forget their brothers in Palestine, in Syria, in Iraq, whose blood testifies to the truth of the prophecies. In the lands of hardship, Muslims are driven to despair, forgetting that every trial is the purification of the believer. Thus, the Ummah is tested, not only by enemies with tanks and drones, but by the invisible weapons of heedlessness and neglect. A rarely quoted yet profound verse from the Quran offers a mirror to this reality. Do they await but they are, that it should come upon them suddenly while they perceive not? Siyaz Zukhruf 43:66. This is the state of many today. The signs are clear. The collapse of justice, the rise of falsehood, the spread of shamelessness, the corruption of leadership, but the hearts remain blind. When the hour comes, when the Dajjal appears, when the Mahdi rises, they will awaken too late, like sleepers who rise to find the house already burning. But Allah's mercy is vast, and His warnings are a call to repentance, not to despair. The Salaf, the righteous early generations, understood this. Omar ibn Abdul Aziz, the just Khalifa, once said, "The greatest fear I have for this Ummah is that Allah may open the dunya to them, and they become distracted, thinking they are in favor while they are in deception." How true are these words today when wealth, technology, and power have made the Ummah feel strong, yet spiritually they are weak. The real trial is not the enemy's sword, it is the rust upon the heart. The Prophet warned, "There will come upon the people years of deception, in which the liar will be believed and the truthful rejected." Is this not our age? The media glorifies those who mock religion. The scholars who speak truth are silenced or slandered. The false are praised. The true are forgotten. And the Ummah walks like a man lost in fog, unable to find the Qibla. But the believer who reflects upon the signs will not despair. For every trial is a gate to awakening. Every hardship is a key to humility. The coming of the Mahdi, the descent of ISIS assist, the final wars, these are not tales of terror, but of hope for those who prepare. The sign of the true believer in this age is patience, prayer, and awareness. Like the shepherd who watches the sky for signs of rain, the heart of the mu'min watches the world for signs of the hour. The soul prepares for the Dajjal by clinging to truth, even when the world calls it falsehood. The soul prepares for the Mahdi by seeking unity, even when the Ummah is torn by division. The soul prepares for Isa by waiting for the command of Allah, trusting that victory belongs to the righteous, not the mighty. There is a parable in nature that reminds us of this. The seed buried in the soil is crushed by earth, darkened by winter, seemingly forgotten. But in truth, it is preparing for the spring. The cold and darkness are its trial, shaping its strength. When the sun returns, the seed bursts forth with life. So too is the Ummah now, buried under trials, darkened by deception, forgotten by the world. But when the Mahdi rises, when Isa descends, the true believers will burst forth like spring after a long winter, and the earth will be filled with justice as it was filled with oppression. O soul who hears these words, reflect. Are you among those preparing for the hour? Or are you drunk with the dunya, sleeping while the signs unfold? The Mahdi will rise suddenly. The Dajjal will deceive swiftly. The wars will blaze unexpectedly. And only those whose hearts are awake will endure. For the Prophet said, "When one of you finishes the last tashahhud in prayer, let him seek refuge with Allah from four things: the punishment of hell, the punishment of the grave, the trials of life and death, and the evil of the fitna of the Dajjal." This is the true preparation. Not armies or weapons, but the fortress of the soul. The Ummah must awaken. The masajid must be filled before the hour strikes. The Quran must be read before the seal of the heart is set. The Sunnah must be revived before the Dajjal mocks its absence. The Prophet has left us the map. The Quran is the light in the darkness. The path is clear. But who will walk it? The war between Iran, America, and Israel is the outer shell. The real war is within. Haqqu and Baitil fight not only in the lands of men, but in the lands of the soul. The believer who sees this will prepare, and by Allah's mercy, will be among those saved from the greatest trial of mankind. May Allah awaken the hearts of the believers, strengthen their resolve, and guide them to the truth before the door of repentance closes. For the storm approaches and the time is short, O people of reflection. What you see in the news is not mere politics, it is the unfolding of the divine warning given 1400 years ago. Every bomb dropped, every treaty broken, every secret alliance made is another step toward the greatest event the world will ever witness. The hour is near, the signs are clear, the Dajjal's system rises, the Mahdi's arrival approaches, and the armies gather knowingly or unknowingly to fulfill their roles in the final chapter of mankind's history. But what about you? What about us? Will we remain distracted by this dunya, chasing wealth, status, and pleasure, while the earth trembles beneath our feet with signs of the unseen? Return to the Quran, hold firm to the Sunnah, cleanse your heart, teach your children, awaken your soul, for the day is coming, sooner than we think, when no wealth or power will save us. Only faith, patience, and truth will remain. May Allah make us among those who recognize the signs before it is too late. May He shield us from the trial of Dajjal, guide us to the Mahdi, and allow us to stand beside Isa bin Maryam on the day truth will triumph over falsehood. Ameen.